and welcome to the Daily Signal's Facebook Live. I'm Rachel Del Giudice, and I'm joined today by Senator David Perdue from the great state of Georgia. Senator, thank you so much for joining us
Thanks
today.
for having me.
Well, you just wrapped up an event here at the Heritage Foundation on tax reform, and there's big news out on that. On Friday, Speaker Ryan announced that there might be a fourth bracket added to the three that are already in the framework. What are your thoughts on that addition of that bracket?
Well, that would give us 4 in the vernacular of Washington, but it's really 5 because we also have a 0 bracket as well. But what he's trying to do is make sure at the top end that we don't give the highest tax bracket players a tax cut. And I welcome that. I support that. But when you start moving around the brackets, that's not necessarily simplification. You have to look at all the deductions and everything else that go into the individual tax code. But let's remember what we're trying to do in this tax deal has 3 parts. One is there's a corporate side. The corporate tax rate is not competitive with the rest of the world. Then we're the only country left in the 39 OECD countries that has a repatriation tax. We want to eliminate that. And then on the individual side, we want to give the middle class a tax break.
Something else that is really big in the news, that there's been kind of back and forth going over the state and local deduction, whether we're going to have that in tax reform, whether we're not going to have it. It sounds like the Democrats don't want that to happen. What do you see going forward? Is it possible that we won't have or will have state and local within the new tax
Well, it's a
rate?
big part of the simplification of the tax code, frankly, and it's a big number in terms of the calculation of the, quote, pay-fors for the tax cuts. It's over $1 trillion. And my view is this. It's pretty simple. Why should a couple with 2 children, the same house, the same cars, the same jobs, the same income, the same deductions, why would one in Peoria, Iowa, pay more to the federal government than one in California? And that's my view, is I think it's a wealth transfer from some states to other states because of their financial intransigence, and I don't agree with that.
Yeah. So President Donald Trump said that he wants tax reform to happen by Christmas, or he wants lawmakers to forego their Christmas break. Do you think, given the struggles that we've had with passing health care that didn't go through, do you think this will happen by Christmas? Can conservatives be confident that it will going forward into the new year and all of that?
Well, first of all, I think the premise is right. Is if this were a business, we'd be in here 24/7 making sure that we got our priorities done. That's what everybody else in the real world does. Somehow in Washington, they're quite complacent and quite happy to see it kick down the road. This is one that we cannot kick down the road. Back in June and July, we actually encouraged the leadership in the Senate to stay here 24/7. During the August break, we stayed here 1 week and ended up negotiating a deal where the Democrats gave us 66 nomination confirmations in order to go home so they could politic. Well, here we're in the same situation, and we've talked about keeping the Senate here, running at weekends and nights in order to get this done. We've got the debt ceiling again to deal with. You've got to fund the government. You've got this tax deal you've got to get passed by Christmas. The House believes they'll get it done in the House by Thanksgiving, and we're paralleling them. We're meeting actively with them now, talking behind the scenes. So I believe there's a chance to get it done by Christmas. If we do, then you'll see an economic bump, I believe, start in the second half of next year. Consumer confidence is at a 16-year high right now in anticipation that we're going to get some of this done.
They're excited. They're ready. Pivoting back to Obamacare really quickly, last week there was a vote that Senator Lee sponsored to have, I believe there were 33 senators that voted to repeal Obamacare regulations. You're one of those senators. That shows that there is still interest, but we wish there were more senators that had voted against it. What do you see going forward? Do you think Graham Cassidy or other Obamacare repeal legislation may go through?
Well, it's shocking that we don't have 100 senators voting to do that. Now, this was in a vote-a-rama, so it is a show vote more than anything else. But even in that, we don't have all 52 Republicans voting to remove and reverse some of these onerous regulations in Obamacare. But we know that Obamacare is failing. It's collapsing under its own weight, and it's having a drag on the economy. You realize that they fined in 2014, the IRS, under instructions from Obamacare, fined 8 million people in the United States $2 billion, and half of those 8 million people make less than $25,000 a year. This is a system that's collapsing under its own weight, and we've got to pull back those regulations. I'm hoping that either later this year under what we're working on right now in the committee, or what we'll do next winter and spring, will somehow bring relief on health care. We're not giving up on it. We've got to repeal Obamacare. We've got to fix the problems that it has created, and give some relief out there. Premiums have more than doubled. In my state, they've doubled over the last 2 years, but worse than that, over the next 6 months, they're going to go up another 50%. And there's going to be a time when, in my state, 99 counties out of our 159 only have one carrier left. When they decide to back out, what are those people going to do?
Well, no action is not an option. You kind of alluded to that in a letter that you wrote last week. I believe it was signed by 11 senators asking the majority leader to keep the Senate in session 24/7 until the end of the year. What has the response been to that letter? Do you think that could possibly happen going down the road till the end of the year?
Well, I give the leader of the Republican Party in the caucus all the credit here. He has said that we will work nights and weekends to be sure two things. One is that we pass this tax bill, but also we've got a lot of judges pending right now confirmation. And this is the slowest confirmation process in the history of the United States, because the Democrats are, for the first time in history, the minority party is not waiving the 30-hour requirement for every debate, for every nomination. So they have done that. And so what we have here is a situation that if we don't change that by running the Senate 24 hours a day or having the Democrats waive the rule, we will not get this president's full nomination slate confirmed by the end of his first term. That's ridiculous. And so what we can do right now is keep the pressure on, stay here 24/7, get tax done, fund the government, and confirm these judges.
Yeah. Well, thank you for staying on this. We
No,
appreciate
thank you
it
very
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you all for following us. Be sure to like us on Facebook. That way you'll always know when we're going live. We'll catch you next time.